If you're struggling with mom guilt, the quiet fear that you're not measuring up, or feeling bad for taking time for yourself, what you're about to hear could completely shift your perspective. So, just 4 years ago, our guest was right where you are. She was trying to hold it all together and feeling like she was constantly falling short as a wife, a mom, in her faith, and in her mental and emotional health. But that is until she discovered something that changed how she saw herself, her family, and the role fear and guilt played in her decisions. And so today she's opening up about that journey and how choosing to prioritize herself turned out to be the most selfless decision she can make, not just for her health, but for her family.
So this is way before I got married, had
Mm-hmm.
kids. My pastor's wife, young adults pastor at that time,
Mm-hmm.
she told me, I don't really care much for roller coasters or anything, but I do them, she says,
Mm-hmm.
because I wanted to overcome my fears before I had
Mm.
kids. Girl, that stuck to me. Oh my gosh. And I was like, I had a challenge of fear of heights for the longest time. Heights and
Mm.
ants were my two fears. Well, there are snakes as well. But anyways, so I was like, oh, that is like striking deep. And then
Yeah.
fast forward to this past summer, we were at a wedding and it was
Mm-hmm.
a super nice wedding. I shared a bit of a video on my social media about it, essentially where they gave a gift to wedding guests to have
Mm-hmm.
a free Ferris wheel ride after
Uh,
the
okay.
ceremony. And so I'm thinking, oh, super cool. So my husband can take my daughter, all good. And then she goes, Mama, I want you to take me. I was like, Jesus, is that you? You're talking to me right now. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. We're doing this. And I'm holding on for dear life. Like, I'm just like, it's shut already, but I'm holding that thing shut and I'm
Yeah.
grabbing onto her. And she could feel like, this is not my cup of tea. Like she could sense that my
Yeah.
body
Yeah.
tense,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I'm being with her. And when we were done, she said, Mama, um, it's okay. Don't be scared. I said, okay, baby. And then she says, and I said, you look like you had fun. She's like, yeah. Like, were you scared? She's like, I was, but I had fun too. And so it's like, okay, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for helping me like not brush it off to my husband and like actually doing it with her because then
Right. Right.
now
Right.
she's
Right.
learning to do it scared, right? Like she's
Yes.
learning
Yes.
thing.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Fear should never be the decision maker in your life. Like
Yes.
it should never
Exactly.
be the decision maker. And so, yeah, I don't know how we got here, but that's like part of behind the
Uh-huh.
thing that sometimes if we make decisions or if you find sometimes we're over controlling or we're trying
Yeah.
to
Mm.
trying to move the situation in a different direction, that's probably because it's being fueled by something
Yeah.
other than the Lord and likely fear. And as a
Yeah.
mom, that is
Mhm.
the first area of attack. Like guilt is there, fear is another area that it's like,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah, it's gonna come at you,
Yeah,
right?
I like what you said in terms of walking through those emotions with your daughter, because I guess like as adult you want to put across this image that you have it all together. And I feel like the best thing you can do for your child is to teach them, you know what? I go through these emotions too, but this is how you deal with it. And like you can preach all you want, but I feel like your
Mm-mm.
children just model what you do rather than
Yeah.
what you say. So the best thing
Yes.
is just to model it there. And I think that was a great example. But I like what you said, facing those fears, because it could be generational. I see like this mom, she had a fear of balloons. And I was like,
Oh,
every time she's around a balloon, she's freaking out. But it's like we don't realize like maybe don't deal with our issues, we pass them on. And it's the
yeah.
last thing you want your child to be afraid of is balloons, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes you don't even recognize, and that's why it's so important to have that time, like as a mom to, yes, it feels selfish. And like I had to go through this where I was like, you know what? I actually need some alone time
Mhm.
to work through things with the Lord, to understand, and to be able to even have like an awareness of who you are. What are your
Mm,
fears? What are your likes? What are your dislikes? Having that time to recognize those things will help
mhm.
you also recognize some of the fear, the guilt, everything that's tucked away in there, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's a work in progress, but it's a work that's worth doing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I like that conversation. So, if we can, begin our conversation by just sharing a bit about you, who is Rodas, talked about your family in terms of your journey through motherhood and some of the challenges that you face.
I'm Rodas.
Yes.
Thanks for having me. Um, Again, that same conversation. Who are you? Tell me about yourself. So, I am a follower of Jesus. That's
Yes.
first and foremost. I define myself as a child of God, and then that helps me expand into other things. I am a wife. I
Mhm.
have two beautiful babies. My oldest is 4, and my second one is a year and a half old. Um, I started the Mom Grace and Growth journey, the social media journey, about a year ago. Um, in my daytime, I work in a nonprofit. I actually, funny enough, graduated as a chemical engineer from university. Did not work a day as an engineer, but found my passion in the nonprofit sector, and that's kind of where I've been for many years now. Um, what are other things? So this is the part of the work that I was telling you earlier that I still need to do some more work about, what are my likes, dislikes. I truly, truly enjoy alone time. I enjoy like a moment of reflection. I enjoy quiet and silence. I enjoy, family time. I love walks. I love family movie night. Yeah, so that's a bit about myself.
Talk a bit about the challenges you face in terms of motherhood and how that impacted your marriage, in terms of your relationship with your child at that point, no children, and in terms of your health.
For sure, for sure. So, firstly, I didn't even know that there was a term mom guilt. I didn't like, going into it. I remember the first time I experienced it though. So, the thing about motherhood is you prepare like before you become a mom. You get their clothes ready, you do the
Mhm,
prenatal classes, you make sure you're taking the right vitamins, you're eating well,
mhm,
like all of the prep starts maybe
mhm,
a year or 2 years before you even conceive the child. And so, by the grace of God, after we got married, we decided we're not going to wait too long, we're going to try. We got pregnant, and so I was doing all the prep that I needed to do. I even did like, I don't know if you're familiar with Sozo sessions.
mhm.
So I did a Sozo because I'm like, hey, I need to check on my emotional health and how things are going before I have this wonderful baby. And so, like, to my knowledge, I was as prepared as I could be. And also, leading up to it, I wanted to exclusively nurse my daughter. I said, I don't want to do formula. I don't want to do nothing wrong with formula. I know a lot of moms that do it. And I'll tell you later, I ended up doing it. But I was like, that's what I'm doing. That's what I've seen my mom doing with my youngest brother because I was old enough to know what that was when he was born. And so I said, that's what I'm doing. And then come delivery, and that initial moment when they try to latch the baby on you, it's not happening. They're trying, it's not happening. They're trying, it's not happening. And they're like, hey, we need to test her blood sugars and stuff. So we need to have her on formula immediately. And I can remember like this sinking feeling in my heart, but I'm like, okay, we're going to work hard at this. But it didn't hit me until the first time we were home, and I was like a minute or two late from like making the formula. And at that point, I was still pumping, but insignificant amount of milk. But anyways, she cries out of hunger, and that thing hurts like a thousand stabs. Like, I'm just like, I can't even feed my baby, and I'm in tears. I am in total tears. And that is when I recognized like that first instance of mom guilt. I didn't know it at that time what it was, but that was my first encounter. And that kind of like spread. So then it would be people would come in and tell me, maybe if you tried to do this way, or maybe if you, and it was just like it kept growing and growing. And I couldn't put my finger on it, but it was like they would tell me, so and so did it this way, try it this way. And the technicality of all of it did not even occur. Like my daughter had a bit of a tongue tie. I had an inverted nipple. Like there was a whole lot of technical things that were not allowing for this to happen. And I didn't know that till later, but it just kept fueling things. So that is when I first encountered mom guilt. But later, as I was again learning through motherhood, watching different mothers around me, watching my own mom, I started recognizing a pattern. This is a thing that probably all moms go through, and maybe very few recognize. And when you come from a very communal culture, not individualistic culture, you thinking that you need time for yourself, you wanting to say that could very much appear to be selfish. The
Mm,
other thing also is while all of this is happening, you also have, the newborn hormonal fluctuations and things. And so who is my safe place? Outside of the Lord, it's my husband. And so he gets the front of it. He sees me emotional, upset, despite the fact that, prenatal classes, they tell you have chocolate ready, have this ready for the first 2 weeks. He had all of it ready, but he still couldn't quite grasp what was going on. And he would, he's such a gentle soul. Like he tried his best, but he's like, babe, but what's really going on? Like what's really happening? And so it has a tendency to play out in different ways, but that's kind of where I first encountered it.
yeah, I see. I can imagine like a lot of emotions that you were
Oh
going
gosh.
through.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I guess it sounded like you were getting support probably from your family and other
Yes.
mothers, but then something that support can like kind of backfire because they're trying to help, but they're indirectly not helping because of what they're saying and putting more fears there
And
and
yeah, and that and like subtle comparison without them knowing that they're doing that. It's like so and so did this and it worked for them. And I'm like, so then why isn't it
mm,
working for me? Or like,
mm,
so and so's supply is so good. And it's just like I'm saying in specific terms of like nursing and things right now, because that's when I first felt and encountered it. The second time, or not second time, I've encountered it multiple times since then, but when my daughter was about 6 months, and they tell you the milestone of
mm,
rolling for a kid is between 4 to 6 months. And I'm seeing all the other moms that were in the prenatal class. Oh, yeah, my baby rolled today. My baby rolled today. And everyone's messaging. And I'm like, this girl is turning 6 months tomorrow. She has not moved a single bit. She doesn't even look like she's trying. And so we're doing these exercises from like 4 months onwards of like how to help them learn to flip. And I'm working at this thing. And on the day that she turned 6 months, and I said, Lord, I'm not gonna work on the exercises today. Thank you that she's 6 months old. And I just like completely surrendered. And that night, mid diaper change, and it didn't even pass that it wasn't even midnight. She was still the day that she turned 6 months. And I turned to pick up something to turn back. She's like on her stomach. I was like, I didn't leave you like that. And I missed it. I totally missed it. And it's the day. It's like the Lord is so gracious that, it happened still within the 6 months, but he was like, child, just let this child be. Like, let her
mm,
grow. Just, she has her own pace. She has her own time. And that was another area of mom guilt, was like, did I do something wrong that she's not turning? Like, she's not rolling. Did I do something wrong that she's missing a milestone? And then second kid shows up. You don't expect this, but you're like, uh-oh, I've kind of gotten a grasp of being a mom for one. Now, how do I divide my attention? Like, now this needs another skill of like, oh, how do I do this? Like, I don't want her to feel like she doesn't have attention, and like he needs me, And so there was that bit, and it's just again, but throughout the years, my husband has recognized to recognize when I'm starting to fall into that hole of mom guilt. And so he would be like, babe, stop. And I'm like,
mm.
oh, yes, 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 yes. But you also need to build that in you, right? You also need to have that in you when you recognize when that's about to happen, when you're about to put yourself in that cyclical hole. And so learn to like stop yourself.
Yeah, I like how you know, point out the fact that, you know, just letting go and letting God take control of that situation, you know, like sometimes we try to figure it out on our own, you know, and like God has all the answers and he's saying, look, trust me,
Yeah.
depend on me. And I guess we want to lead to our own understanding as the scripture, you know, alluded to. But we have a God who's there, who cares about us and concerned about us more than we can imagine. Let's release it. I guess like we were talking about before, we want, you know, control. And that
Yeah. Yeah.
situation is, you know, it doesn't go the way we expect, then we become, you know, irritable and things like that. But
Yeah.
you know, I like that, you know, the conversation that we have. So okay, you are going through all these issues with guilt in terms of your first child and your second. So at what point did you decide that, look, um, this is a lot. I mean, if I had someone walking alongside with me in terms of this situation, it would make life a lot easier. Probably need to start something, and you decided that you would start Mom Grace and Growth. What steps do you take, you know, to get to
Thank
that
you.
point?
That's a great question. Like I said, once I became a mom and started experiencing it, I started to recognize some of the things I saw in my auntie and my mom and like people without now adult children that still experience some of these things. And I said, wait a second, I don't believe this is part of God's design. Like, I don't
Mhm.
believe God wants us as moms to balance motherhood with mom guilt. That I don't think that's part of it. Like I think that's the perverted version of the enemy. And then I said, I hated making reels. I didn't want to be in front of a camera. Like ask me to talk to people in person, I'll do it, but the camera, not good.
Mm.
No, thank you. And also, and part of it was also like, wait, my kid is only 4. Like what expertise do I bring? And that was part of the lie the enemy was trying to feed me, right?
Mhm.
Because be it that you've gone through the same experience once or you've gone through the same experience over 10 years, the experience is still valid, is still relevant. And so for me, I was like, if I can maybe support this subsection of moms that
Mm.
might be in the same season of life, or maybe they've not reached where I have in mothering, maybe I can help them. Maybe this can be my part to play in supporting moms. And one of the other challenges that I noticed that a lot of moms feel like they're the only ones going through this, and there's that thing where you feel alone, isolated. And so I wanted to break that as well. Like I wanted to be like, hey, you're not the only one. And also like, yes, trusting God, yes, standing on his promises, but also practical things to do to help yourself. Practical things that you need to start changing because like we talked about earlier, if you don't change it in you, guess what? Your child or your children are going to inherit it, right? Like yes, there's the fallen sin nature of humanity. But then there's some things that are inherently easier to fall into, like that fear trap I was talking about earlier, right? So if we could change it with one mom, that could change generations. And so that's kind of how I started. And slowly, now it's been a year, being a mom of 2 small kids, working full time. Sometimes I'm not being as regular poster or anything like that, but I feel like it's one of those things that needs to be discussed. It needs to be brought into the light, and so that it's not covered up and people are suffering quietly.
Yeah. I like that the fact that you wanted to start the conversation, because a lot of times we keep things to ourselves because we are ashamed in terms of the emotions that we are going through, that we don't have it all together, because we like to project this image that, you know, I have it all together. But having that space where mothers can be vulnerable and open in terms of how they're feeling, and knowing that other mothers are going through the same and supporting you on that journey is really needed in this time. Like you said, it's okay to say, you know, God is there, but sometimes you still need the support of those persons around you, you know, to
Yeah,
help you
the
go into
community.
good. Yeah.
Yeah,
help you go
for
through
sure.
the things. But yeah.
For sure.
I know we talked about comparison a bit before. If you can expand a bit on that, like how does comparison contribute to mom guilt, and how can mothers protect their peace from this issue of comparison?
For sure. You know, one of my doctors, like a family doctor, told me, I feel so sad for moms these days. I said, why do you say that? He said, few years or maybe when I was growing up, I don't think moms posted things on social media asking questions
Mm.
or posted anything on social media. And I said, yeah. And he said, today, if you post a picture of your baby, uh, someone will comment. Maybe one person will say, "Oh, cute baby." The other one will say, "Do you have the most recent car seat? Or is it buckled properly? The jacket underneath is too thick." Like the list goes on, right? And I think as great as social media is because we utilize it clearly, uh, it brought this era accessibility to comparison to another level, right? And you're here as a mom, and that's another thing that like set me off. I know another mom that said, this postpartum season of my life, I am deleting my Instagram because she kept being fueled because all you see is people's highlight reels. You see their best, most curated content on social media. But then in that moment, when you're sitting down and consuming probably with very little sleep, hormonal imbalance, a baby, like you're exhausted out of how many times you woke up in the night, and then you're consuming this because guess what? When moms pump, they typically turn to social media to be their buddy because it's at odd hours of the night. And so when you're consuming this, all of this, subconsciously, you're like, oh, wait, this part of my house like is really looking bad. Like, what do I do? Like, this looks so good. And then without knowing, you start comparing every single thing about yourself, your life, your children, even because of that. And so I think that is how it fuels it. Because then you'll start feeling like, oh, wait, I'm not doing enough for my child, or I'm not doing enough for my family. Look at this part of my house. Look at the meals that are on Instagram, how beautiful and colorful they look. And look at my almost burnt, but fairly made it food. It's just like it starts fueling things. It starts fueling things and it's accessible, just like a few clicks away, and it's right there. And my encouragement, I guess, with that, and it's not news, like everyone knows it, but when you're in the moment and you're consuming that content, you don't think that way. You just know what happens after the fact, right?
Mhm.
My suggestion, I guess my two things that I would recommend moms to protect their peace. The first thing is, if you are a believer, do you believe God makes mistakes? If you're a believer, it should be no, right? So if you say no, then God did not make a mistake to make you a mom for that person, for that child, for those children. Take that and just sit with that. Like he knows that you're their mom. It wasn't like, oh, oops, I dropped this kid on this other mom's belly. It's like, no, like the kid was meant to be with you. Um, the second thing is just when you recognize that and you already know your place, your position as a mom is intentional, not an accident. You could be an adoptive mom. That's still not an accident. It's intentional, it's by design. Then that frees you to look at other things. The other pieces is like one of the things that like initially I struggled with as a working mom of two. I felt like I was not giving my kids enough time, and that's a challenge across the board. Like if you see anything with mom guilt, it comes, one of the main branches is from feeling like you don't spend enough time with your children. Turn moments that could be very simple into intentional moments of connection. What does that look like? In the summertime, my daughter and I go out to water our garden. It is our mom and daughter time. It is special. It's not that special, is it? But we made it special because we're like, mom and daughter time. Let's sneak away and we make it fun. And it's like her and I go out, water the plants, come back. And I have to water the plants regardless, right? But make it into something intentional, make it into something meaningful. That way you have moments of connection. Those moments of connection will last a lifetime more than this big, elaborate, vacation that maybe the kids will see in the future on a picture and be like, oh, I've been there. Like my youngest brother asks, was I there? Like he is significantly younger than us. And we talk about memories and he's like, was I there? And we'll show him a picture. Yes, you were. But he doesn't remember the experience, right? So take it easy on yourself. Think of those small daily things that you do, turn it into something intentional and do it. Be present.
Okay, I like how you touched on some of the belief and expectations and fears that fuel our guilt. I remember going over to a friend of mine's. She had recently gotten a baby, and the house was not, what I'm accustomed to seeing.
That was me a lot of times. That still might be me a little bit.
So, it just brought me to the realization that, it can be tough being a mom, I might not have it all together. And I can see what kind of, especially if you're someone that's organized and you want everything, in order, is like some things you just gotta let go. So let me just talk about some of those beliefs and expectations and fears that fuel the guilt. Like I said, that as a mom, probably I need to have everything together, the house in order. I need to be able to cook these exotic meals and things like that. Let's talk about that for a bit.
For sure. That again, it goes into so many. It could be your maybe upbringing. Like I was raised in a different country, and I can remember the house always being clean. I remember having like three different options for meals, right? But guess what? It's not the same context as here. My mom had a village around her. She had help. She had people that were supposed to help with different aspects of us being raised. So when I now bring that to my house, I still want a squeaky clean house. And I still spend some time like before it gets ravaged again by my kids. I clean things up and get it organized and it's pretty and I like sit in it for 10 minutes. It's beautiful. And then they come and it's gone. You know what I mean? And so there's before that used to like hosting guests in my culture, hosting someone. When you're hosting someone, like the corners of your light bulb like needs to be squeaky clean. Like you when you're welcoming people into your house, it's like you prepare as if an inspector, like a health inspector is walking in. It's like every, like portion it's like everything has to, and that's my upbringing. Like things are done that way. And then I started telling my husband, and my husband is way more social than I am. And he's like, let's have this person over. I'm like, no, no, the house is a mess. No. And then I had a friend, God bless her. She was like, hey, would you like me to come in to help you clean? I was like, at before I couldn't even I'm telling you, like my closest people see my house in a mess because I'm like, that's not how I'm raised. Like everything has to be prim, proper, like everything has to be put away together, clean before anyone can come in. But guess what? That was not my reality with a little kid and me at home and like a kid that barely napped. And like her longest nap was to be 45 minutes. And I used to be like, do I shower? Do I eat? Do I do dishes? Like pick one. But then it's like, if I do dishes, the sound will wake her up. If I shower, that'll be upstairs. Let's eat and let's, so there's a lot that goes on. And this friend of mine had asked before, and I said, so many times I'd said, like, it's okay, I got this. And this one time, I had people coming over, and I knew it wouldn't be realistic for me to get that done. And so I had her come in. She said, I'm actually quite surprised you let me in. I said, you know, it's got to give somewhere. It's either me sitting, not being able to do it and sitting in guilt, feeling like I can't have people over, I can't have community because my house is not up to par with how I think it should look like, versus letting people in, right? And so I hope that answered it, but that was like an example of how guilt can come through these cultural and like outside expectations that you have. Actually, one thing I want to touch on too is like the one thing I found hardest for myself and I think other people that like to be organized is the expectations you set for your own self. So my reality or my imagination of what reality would look like was that by the time my husband gets home from work, at that time, in Canada, we're fortunate enough to have maternity leave like up to 18 months. And so I was home, right? So my expectation was that by the time he gets here, everything's squeaky clean. There's like dinner on the table and there's something baked fresh. And I'm like looking like a decent human, my hair's not sticking out from places. And the first few months, I was like crying. I was like, I'm so sorry, babe. Like I don't know what to do. I can't do this. And he's like, but it's okay. Like we're in this together. And he's so helpful. And so that expectation we set for ourselves, like outside of the external one, because the external one, we kind of tend to expect it to be there. The one that's shocking and the one that's hardest to let go of is our internal unrealistic expectations that we have of ourselves.
Yeah, I can see it being so liberating. Just letting go of those expectations because that's like a weight that you have been carrying, you know what I mean? Just not being able to get persons to come over and spend time with you because you want your house looking a certain way. You don't want them to see your
Yeah.
house looking dirty and things like that because you're worried about what they're going to say or what they're going to tell others. Yeah, it can be, really liberating when we let go of those expectations.
And you know what, Charlene, I don't think, if I'm honest right now, I don't think I'm fully letting go of all of the expectations. And in a certain way, there's a healthy level of having expectations, right?
Right.
It's like anticipation. It's like this place where you get to like marry those two things where yes, this is my ideal and this is reality. Maybe we slowly progress. And maybe ideal is too much. And so maybe that slowly progresses to the middle where we find a happy medium, right? Like, and this is not calling people to mediocrity. This is not calling people
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like average living. That's not the case. The case is most times when you have expectations, they are far beyond realistic. They are far beyond like attainable in the season you're in, right? And I say don't let go fully because, hey, maybe there is a season in your life when you have more margin to accomplish those goals. I have some days where I've done it all, actually, and I'm like, yes, it's done. Those are very far in between, but it happens, right? So don't, because that could also lead into this place of dissatisfaction where you feel like you're living less than what you
Uh-huh.
have desired. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
not fully like
Healthy expectations then.
healthy expectations. Thank you. Like healthy. Yes, I like that. I like that.
Yes, because like you said, expectations, can help us, move towards a certain level. That's where we want to go. We want to get better every day, but sometimes it causes us to become anxious and hold on to, fear, anxiety, and you don't want to live in that place,
Mm-hmm.
especially as Christians. And I know
Yes.
I know you talked about your husband a lot in terms of this whole process, him being supportive. Talk to husbands out there. Their wife, they recently got a child, and they're seeing their wife going through all this. They don't necessarily know how to process it. They don't know what to say. They don't want to say the wrong thing. It's like, how can you help that husband out there to help or identify, this is probably the issue here, my guilt, and how can I help my wife maneuver during this season of her life?
That's a great question. Um, I will answer that, but I'll quickly mention that like some of my single mom friends have asked me like,
Mm.
okay,
Mhm.
what about us, right? Like
Yeah,
what
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
us?
Mhm.
And so for my single moms out there that, you still go through the same things plus more, I would recommend to find yourself a group or a trusted friend that you can confide in. There's a lot of single mom support groups. There's in different avenues, different ways they connect, church groups, Bible study, and you don't even have to be in a single moms group. You can just be in a moms group, right?
Mhm.
Because most moms go through similar things. You just have the weight of all of the shared responsibility on you. And so find yourself a village, like I talk about having a village a lot. And so find yourself a trusted village and actually let them in is my first bit here for single moms. But for those moms, you or now speaking to the husbands, I guess, learn your wife. Honestly, the first bit of advice is continue to learn your wife. Learn about her, learn the things that before didn't set her off, but somehow this thing is, you're noticing a trend. You're noticing something that is becoming a more consistent and more frequent thing. And my husband is really good at looking at my face and knowing something is off. Like he's really good. And it's actually sometimes very scary and very annoying where I'm like, I just want to be in my space alone, not being called out, but he's really good at recognizing. And so learn to know your wife. And when you see something happening, check in and don't jump into the lecture. That's one thing. Because like husbands are problem solvers. I think it's innate. So they just want to give you the tool. Take this, do this, this, da, 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 da. Here's a solution. In most cases, your wife would likely just need your ears. Like that's about it. Or sometimes, you could be like, hey, do you want a prayer? Or do you want a moment and take the kids? Like it could be as simple as her needing a shower without noise. So just as kind of see the situation when you learn your wife, that opens up so many tools for you because you already know the person. You know what works for them, you know what sets them off, right? So there's not everything, you know, a solution that fits every wife out there, but learn your wife and know about her. And, in any situation, I've never seen this fail. I've never seen a husband wanting to listen to his wife. Maybe she just wants to cry or like having a shoulder, or sometimes like I have verbalized it when I need a solution. And so in some cases, your wife might be like, okay, tell me what are these things? And that is your opportunity to provide that, problem solving skill, whatever it looks like. Um, yeah, I think I would say I would say learn your wife. I think learn
Uh-huh.
your wife. I
Yeah.
know it's a very wide answer, but I feel like there's a lot to unpack. And some days it's just I just need to shower. I just need a moment to myself to have a good long shower with you having the kids. Other times, I know my husband's done grocery runs with both the kids, so I have a moment to clean the kitchen. Like, because like again, the mess bothers me, right? So he knows to a point where, okay, is this like a deep-rooted thing or is this like in the moment and she's exhausted? Or like he'd be like, do you want me to bring you coffee? And I'll be like, So it's just again, it falls back to learning your wife, I guess.
Yeah, being there, being supported, being a listening ear, not just jumping to conclusion that she wants to hear your advice.
Don't
Just
do
get
it.
to
Don't do it.
All right. So yeah, I think that's some good points that you mentioned there. I know you were talking about sometimes you just want to be alone. You are a person that like to spend time alone, reflecting, and I know for a lot of women who might be going through this season of their life, it's like I want some time alone, but like I have so much things to do. How am I going to let go and probably gets our access some assistance so I can spend some time dealing with my mental, emotional, and physical health. How do we help women to see that this is not selfish? That you focusing on you at some points in time allowed you to be a better mom, a better wife. Yeah. So how can you help mom to move in that stage of feeling guilty for taking time off for themselves?
Hmm. The first analogy that comes to mind always when I have these conversations is, where you're on an airplane and the oxygen mask drops, they tell you wear it yourself first. Do not attempt to put it on your child. Wear it yourself first. And honestly, it hasn't happened to me yet, and I pray it doesn't happen because it's a struggle. Like it will be like, are you serious? You want my child to be oxygen-less and me to have it for those extra seconds? But if you lose consciousness before you put your mask on, that's two people that now don't have masks on. You are ultimately risking your child's life by not doing that. And why I bring that super strong analogy is because we tend to not see the immediateness of us needing emotional, mental, physical health looked after. And one of the things that I would like to bring is that, like, have you like accomplished your mission on earth? Like, have you accomplished your purpose on earth? If that answer is no, it means you need to live longer. Like you're alive and you need to continue to live. And that is one aspect of it. And if you don't continue to protect your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health first and foremost, like if things are not right with the Lord, if I have not spent time with the Lord, my husband can tell. He can tell. So it's like if he can tell, guess what? The kids can tell. And so when you're thinking you're doing this for your kids and you're exhausted, you're irritable, you're not really that great to be around, and you're still pushing it because this is what a great mom would do, it's not a great experience for yourself, for your husband, for your children. And what example are you setting? Because you have to then look at you being a grandma and watching your daughter going through that. What would you tell her? If you came into a position where you saw your daughter that was like letting go of her health, her emotional health, she's constantly a mess, what would you tell her in that moment? What would you ask her to do? And if you could extend that same kindness to yourself and apply that to yourself, then you would know that it's not selfish. Because, like, even the Bible says, right? Like, love others as you love yourself, or do unto others as you would do for yourself. There's a purpose why that's written that way, right? So yeah, just wanted to share that sense.
I love that. It's so easy to say like put God first, but when you're in a particular situation, it's like, all these things need to do, and you're not spending time with God. You're not, getting his input on anything. It's like that's not what it means to put God first. So it's like we know scriptures, we can quote them, but when we look at our life, it's like it's not really a reflection. It's like you said, our children are looking on. It's like what example are we setting? We want to model something that that we feel comfortable that they're able to follow.
Yeah. Can I share something with that? Because one of my challenges, or one of the things that maybe a certain like type of guilt, not mom guilt, came in was when I first had my child. Before, my devotionals used to be so long and uninterrupted and like beautiful, heavenly, and it's like, and then I have a child, and I'm trying to make it happen in the most religious sense of the word, and I'm like, I don't believe that's what the Lord is wanting us. He says, in the Bible it says, pray without ceasing. What does that look like? And I had one mom explain, she said, if you're praising the Lord while you're doing dishes, and it doesn't mean you're just so excited that you're doing the dishes that you're praising the Lord. No, it just means bringing him into the situation you are in that moment, inviting him in, talking to him at any opportunity you get, like, and it's like he sees the weakness of humanity. He knows Jesus was here 33 years, like on earth, flesh, covered with flesh. He knows the weakness that we carry. This is not to give excuses to, not being intentional with the Lord. This is to give you freedom to have all the time with him, right? And so bringing him into the conversation, this helps you then even self-regulate without you knowing, because we know Thanksgiving actually changes the atmosphere. Like it changes things that you're operating in, right? So when you're inviting the Lord, the perspective goes different. Like you're looking up instead of around, and it somehow centers you, it calms you, right? And so there's so many ways to do it. It's not I've tried waking up at 4 a.m. to read my Bible before everyone. That just usually doesn't turn out well. My husband does it well. Not for me. For me, I will stay up later after everyone sleeps, or I will be listening in my AirPods to the Bible as I wash dishes. So it's just finding ways that you can bring the Lord and make him part of your life actually as it is.
Yeah, I like that. You need to be, flexible, not just accept the fact that I'm busy, but how can I incorporate, my devotions? It may not necessarily look like how I used to do it before, but how can I incorporate reading the word or praying? Like you said, listening probably with your pause or with a certain verse or whatever, doing the dishes at the same time. You need to be flexible during this season, but just recognize it's important. It's not necessarily that I am too busy, I can't get it done, but you have to figure out how you could get it done, because it's essential in terms of for your sanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Like every aspect of it, and learning to bring them into it to the kids. Like both my kids do like a wiggly dance or something when we're about to eat, just because when I was at home with both of them, I always played worship music out of the Alexa thing. And when I'm cooking, when I'm like giving them food, when I'm like, I sing and I dance and whatever. And so again, not very culturally appropriate. That's not how I was raised. Like when you're at a dinner table or a lunch table, you are proper. You sit and you just eat your food, right? But like it's just finding ways again to bring the Lord into it, like into the food. And so, and then your kids, without you knowing, learn to worship, learn to bring the Lord into situations, and then you start having those conversations with them, right? So yeah, just more flexibility, which is probably a learned skill for me, by the way. Like I like structure inherently. I like following rules
Yeah,
inherently.
your engineer mindset,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love structure. So when I say this lightly, it takes time to develop the flexible muscle, right?
Yeah. I know the time is going, so let's, quickly, come to an end, but I just want to talk a bit about the whole aspect of imposter syndrome. I know people thinking that I'm not enough, I'm not adequate. How do we help persons to renew their mind in terms of their way of thinking to align more with God's truth about them?
Yeah. First thing you said, that's a great question, imposter syndrome, and I see that everywhere. Like I feel people are tiptoeing around things thinking like, oh no, I'm not good enough to touch this, be it moms or outside moms. First thing you said, renewing your mind. I believe it's Romans 12 or
2,
something.
12 to
12 too, right? So
right.
renew your mind. And like the Lord is so good. He knows the battlefield is in there. So
Mm,
when he talks about the mind in the
mm,
Bible, it is intentional, right? And so what we talked about, do you believe the Lord makes mistakes? No. So if not, who are you comparing yourself to if you're not comparing it to yourself? Or if you're not looking up to the master, to the Lord to guide you, right? So imposter syndrome comes from this deep rooted feeling or seed or thought that says that it shouldn't be me, it should be someone else. But then if you believe that you are meant to be here because the Lord doesn't make mistakes, then that should not exist, right?
mm,
And so one of the things I would encourage moms to do is, what is the root of that lie?
mm.
Where is it coming from?
Right, right.
Is it from the motherhood side? Is it from you being a wife? Is it from you, I don't know, like whatever that lie comes from, figure it out. Once you know the lie, go to the Lord with the lie and find out what the truth actually is that cancels out that lie. For me, I know it says in Habakkuk 2:2 where it says, write it down, make it plain,
Mm,
write down the vision. If you write things down in like the science of it, when you write, you're engaging muscles, right? And so that triggers memory, like you will remember it, but also memorize. It says meditate on the word of the Lord, right? When you meditate also you're rehearsing, you're memorizing. And this lady that's a Christian doctor of brain, that's my technical term, talks about the muscle and how our brain actually works on short-term and long-term memory. And she talks about the things that we rehearse to ourselves, that we meditate
mm,
on, will stay the longest in our memory. And that's when we talk about renewing your mind. It's meditating on the right thing, meditating on who the Lord says you are. And so that practicing that, rehearsing that, and remembering that you are here for such a time as this. I love Esther's story, and that's mine and my daughter's favorite story. And so we talk about that a lot, that you are here for such a time as this. And one final thing is my daughter and I say this verse, it's Psalms 139:4. I praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works. My soul knows it very well.
mhm. Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, God knew what he was doing. He made you a mom at this particular time for a particular reason. So he will give you the tools you need to equip you so that you can be the best mom you can be at this particular season of your life. And so
Yes. And you
we
are
got
not an imposter. Like
yes,
you are
yes,
it. You
yes.
are it.
Yeah, so identifying the root of the lie and replacing it with God's truth. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes.
I love that. I just want to re-emphasize that point that we had made before, like all of these things that we are carrying, the fear, the expectations. We don't want to pass them on to other generations. We want them in here.
Yeah.
So we need to be really intentional about addressing our issues so
Yes.
that our children do not have to deal with the same things that we are dealing with. Those
Yes.
things with fear and doubt and we really need to release them to God. It's like
Yes.
God have loaned us our children for a particular I mean, it's like at the end of the day, we might think like these children are ours, but if you really think about it, they don't belong to us. They belong
No.
to God. So it's not,
Yes.
I mean, yes, we are entrusted with them, but it kind of take the burden off of you to have everything to just going perfectly. It's like God entrusts you. So he is there all the time to support you during this entire process. So you don't have to do motherhood alone. You can trust him
No.
during
No.
this whole process.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah.
And God will, part of God's design for us is it says man shall not be alone. It means
Mm,
people. are not designed to live alone. People
Mhm.
are not designed to exist as an island, right? So God's word always encourage us. It shows us the way of life. It shows us practical things too. It's not just theory. Like he's alive. His word is living. And all these, self-help books, all these stress relief methods, da 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 da. Like some of the truth they get, a lot of the truth is usually from the Bible,
Grounded.
whether they
Yeah.
recognize it or not, right? So you have the biggest tool, you have the biggest support, that is God, Holy Spirit. Um, and then you need to do practical things to help and walk that out.
Yeah. Thanks again, Rodas. Rodas from Mom Grace and Growth. I have it right. Yes.
Yes, thanks, Charlene. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I think we had a good conversation.
I really enjoyed it.
But before we go, I just want you to talk about your socials because we know persons out there, they want support and you're there to help them. So tell us a bit about your socials so people can continue to connect with you.
Perfect. So I'm on Instagram, TikTok. I haven't done quite a few long form, but I'm on YouTube as well. I'm on Facebook as well. I have um, a free ebook, sorry, a free ebook called Get Free from Mom Guilt, and it gives you just tools, some of the tools we touched on. You can find the link on momgraceandgrowth.com. It's available, it's free, and you can make it your own today and connect with me. Message me on Instagram, message me on TikTok, follow, and ask questions. Honestly, even if you don't message me, I hope this like conversation will spark up or remind you of a person that you need to be connecting with. Even if you're a mom on the other side where you've gone through this and you're over this, you're like now really good. Maybe there's a mom in your vicinity that is struggling, and reach out to her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks so much, Charlene. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, same here.